I would like to ask you, please report one remarkable thing from your working group, only one. I think we will have minutes of meeting where we can have a bit more of insights of the breakout sessions, but here in the plenary, just one remarkable thing from your personal view. And I would like to start with the climate and environmental group.
Okay, so thank you, Franke. It's quite difficult to I just share the jumbo here just as a reference. So we have so many opinions and ideas from the participants, and mainly the most of ideas for the climate change, including the climate finance or phasing out fossil fuels. But also we just think about we should consider the biodiversity laws and so on. So we are looking forward to working with all of the participants in our working group. Thank you.
Yes. Great. Then economic justice and transformation.
Okay. Alba-san, can you say something? Or I will do that.
Okay. Should I?
Yes, please.
Okay. Instead of one, just two small ones, maybe I can just report back. Besides the issues, we will have to discuss officially to decide upon the sub-themes under the working group. But it's quite interesting proposal. There are many, but maybe there are 4 or 5, but maybe I can mention just 2. One proposal is from Iwatsuki-san of ACE, and her suggestion was, can this working group engage in employment and labor working group of G7? That is quite interesting. We should think about it. And the second proposal I found it very interesting is from a Professor Uemura. He might not have mentioned this term, but he mentioned about innovative financing mechanism. And I think that issue has to be dealt. And especially in Japan, some Japanese civil society organizations are keen on introduction of international solidarity levy. So that thank you.
Thank you. I know it hurts, but one perspective from the Global Health Working Group.
Okay, so that Taka-san as a rapporteur, can you summarize? Can you lift the word?
Okay, I will do the report.
Yeah, please.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much. From the Global Health Working Group, there are some practical and substantial questions, but we confirmed that survey will be conducted to identify what specific issues you would like to raise and what kind of themes that you would like to seek for. And we also confirmed that nothing is set ahead of time, even though we have already G7 the health working group agenda, but we at civil society, we can set priorities by ourselves. And we confirm that everybody is invited to the first meeting, which will be conducted the day after tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
What would you like to tell us from a humanitarian assistance and conflict perspective?
As humanitarian assistance and conflict working group, we haven't really just discussed the contents of the issues because we haven't really had the working group meeting yet. So we just saved the discussion on the first official working group kickoff start meeting. So we're just only discussing the process and also how we running the working group. So we sort of agree to meeting twice in every 2 weeks and until the end of the discussion. So we're planning to first official meeting soon. So we'll send it the mailing list through the mailing list. Yeah.
Thank you. Open and resilient societies, please.
Naren, do you want to do it?
Sure. I think one of the remarkable things that we had in our group is we're very diverse in ideas and issues, but we have to work hard to really, narrow it down and find specific areas as a priorities we want to focus. And all of us somehow, we have to discuss it, but somehow agreed that in the 4 areas, civic space, digital democracy, accountability and transparency, and inclusion and equality, the areas that we identified, maybe the one we would like to focus in the future, but today's meeting really opens up for the ideas and point to discuss in the future meetings.
Thank you so much for being brief. And then the last insight is from nuclear disarmament.
Yes, we had a very fruitful discussion, and some of the keywords highlighted include no first use of nuclear weapons, risk reduction measures, the broader security context, so security policies without nuclear weapons free zone, and of course the end goal, nuclear weapons abolition and nuclear technologies in general, including nuclear power. And importantly, the importance of youth involvement in the process was also highlighted in the discussion. Thank
you very much for your understanding and really being brief. I think we will receive a deeper documentation of the discussions than with the minutes of the meeting and the slides. I would like to open and use the time really for last questions and answers, and therefore I propose really, if you have a question, please speak up. Hyoka, would you like to assist? And I cannot see the hands at the moment. And to unmute the people who would like to ask a question.
If I may ask a quick question. I know there's a lot of friends here who have gone through this C7 process in the past and have amazing experience. Is anyone would like to share about the challenges, the pushbacks we might have to encounter when we talk about, really putting forward the recommendation and ideas to the G7 leaders?
Who would like to answer that? From the G7 Secretariat.
Okay, if I may come in, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
So my comment links very well with that question. As I was mentioning in my opening remarks in the plenary, the experience of being part of C7 process has been really very encouraging. But given the kind of challenges we are facing, we need to spend. So again, reflecting on the previous processes, we do spend a lot of time in developing our policy demands. And we are left with less time for advocacy. I think we need to change that. And at this event, and especially knowing that a lot of our recommendations are going to be very similar to the work that we have done in the past. Unfortunately, not many have been, accepted by G7 countries. So it would be great if we spend less time wordsmithing those policy demands and talking about those commas and semicolons the way policy wonks do. We agree on our demands sooner and spend more time in advocacy, in engaging with the governments in G7 countries and also putting pressure from other countries. So that would be that was a challenge in the previous process. So responding to the previous question, and also a suggestion that we really need to spend a lot more time on pushing the governments to really deliver and implement the policy demands.
Yes, I already see a lot of positive reactions from the audience. Lauren, please.
Building off of the comment of my colleague, I wanted to say that in the past, something that's been helpful in terms of circulating advocacy is intercollaboration between engagement groups in terms of publishing some sort of policy brief or something ahead of the communique release date. So this is operates as kind of an in-depth target on certain types of points that are outputs of different working groups that allows us the space and also repetition of exploring topics, while also, showing that different issues are cross-cutting. This isn't a detraction from C7. It is actually very much a benefit, and it helps strengthen our position. So I think that if any of us have connections with other engagement groups or other working groups, although we don't want to repeat ourselves necessarily, I think that cross-collaboration is actually a great point of strength in terms of advocacy. So thank you.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We did that last year with the gender engagement group and the youth engagement group, for example. I think this is very valid and good point. Sony.
I wanted to ask, what is the ratio of G7 countries implementing the recommendations that are provided by C7 in the last year, or how is it?
Who would like to answer that question? Maybe somebody from German NGO community. I see Marvin, for example. Please go ahead.
Sure. It's the same as with the challenge. I mean, the biggest challenge is when they totally ignore you. Let's not fool ourselves. For the government side of the G7, this is a consultation. So you've made your recommendation, every nod, the chancellor took our very big recommendations, left the room, and what happened then is totally up to those in power. So what I can formally say is that there is actually a G7 accountability mechanism that every 3 years looks at all the commitments made of the G7. And there was just one made for last year's Elmau summit. It's only 108 pages long. You can find it and look at it, and there they actually will spell out what they committed. They definitely did not commit to look any further at our recommendations. That's never a commitment they made, and this is something we can only guess, to be quite honest. Thank you.
Thank you, Marvin. Anselmo, please.
Okay, my name is Anselmo from Korea, representing both Pax Korea for Working Group on Nuclear Disarmament and also APS, the Asia Citizen Partnership for Sustainable Development. I'd like to highlight the importance of the collaboration with the C20 process. We had one very interesting workshop during the C20 Bali, the first meeting between the C7 and the C20. But unfortunately, this time, we just few years ago had a meeting among some C20, the CSO. We decided to launch People's Apostrophe 20, which is a parallel with the official C20 by Indian government, because the many traditional autonomous CS has been not included. They are three sidelines. So we decided to create a space for more diverse voice. So there will be two processes. One is official, the other one is People's, in the name of People's 20, which is more autonomous. I hope we can collaborate together, especially the civic space and also the accountability question, as Alan said. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Any other reactions or comments? Cassie, please.
Yeah, last year we had a brainstorm session in our group, and then we had a chief writer consolidated all the comments. Then we had a couple of people assigned to be editors, and they made that document better. And to focus our writing, we followed the pattern of challenge, pathway, and benefits as a storyline. So we outlined what we were seeing as the challenge, and then what we thought was the pathway and what would be the benefits, so that could really focus our writing. And then we went back to the group and they started picking it apart and making it better. And as for Harjeet's comment about lobbying, I was on the W7 last year and I'm on the W7 this year. And we lobbied the equality ministers for, something specific that was in our document. And perhaps we could all think about doing that in our own groups. So your environment minister, your health minister, think about lobbying your own ministers for what's in the document. And if you need help with focusing your lobbying, I train people how to lobby for a living.
Thank you very much. The next hand is from Ah.
Hello, thank you. My name is Aha Maftuhan. You can call me Maftuh or Aha. I'm currently Troika member of C20 India presidency. Previously, I'm Sherpa of C20 Indonesia 2022. Yes, I could not agree more to strengthen collaboration between C7 and C20. And we had meeting a weeks ago between C20 and C7. And I will try to keep our collaboration running well. And I'm also echoing what Anselmo said before. Yes, we until now struggling how to push the C20 principle in place during C20 India presidency. We just finished international advisory meeting 2 hours ago, and we still discuss about how to establish the working group, what the issue that not only strongly reflect a domestic issue, but also reflected the international issues. And what Anselmo said about establishment of People 20, I think it is part of our civil society organization dynamic, and we can use two approach, formal and non-formal approach. So that is all from my side right now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And now we have a final comment from Sandra.
Hello. Yes, so basically from my side, I would say maybe that there are a few things, you know, to really be more influential. Is about definitely we need to make sure also on a G7 country level. So, for example, Bond in the UK and other, you know, we are coordinated and we do country level lobbying very heavily, you know, in advance of the, you know, all relevant ministerial meetings. So we don't wait for the summits, you know. And the second thing is also that coordination with other G7 engagement groups. There were, you know, in chat also to people mentioning gender and all that. We have W7, right, Women 7. We, you know, they're very strong on that. So, and also that's all here on the UK level as well. We have a very strong, you know, dialogue with them as well, ensuring that we are kind of as much as, you know, coordinated. And I think the lesson really from last few years to me is also, and I think that was also in Anke, in your that reflection, the final handover seminar, it was about that we probably need to pick really very few, you know, really key things across all of our groups. We need to kind of reach agreement, you know, and then we all advocate for it. And obviously that doesn't mean that, you know, we undermine all the other things, but really to sometimes we need to make these choices to be more influential, really achieve, because if we just come with these hundreds and hundreds of recommendations, you know, the government will be just lost, you know, and they'll just, you know, so but if we really all consistently pick like 3 or 5 really big things, you know, they probably, and we talk in every space, just those, we will be much more vocal, stronger, and probably will also get some traction. So that would be my recommendation we can achieve this year.
Okay, I fully agree. Great, but it's always difficult to find these 3 little things. So we are coming to an end, and the name of this event today is a kickoff workshop. So we start the process, and I think it was a fantastic start, and the process will continue. And now I hand over to Valerie Emmy from GCAP Italy for the closing remarks, because Italy has C7 next year. All right.
Thanks a lot, Anke. So yes, exactly. I'm representing here GCAP Italy, Global Call to Action Against Poverty, and I'm member of the C7 Steering Committee. And as Anke just mentioned, this C7 kickoff meeting is coming to an end. So just a few words from my side. And I'd like to start by saying thank you so much for your numerous participation from such a different corners of the world. Thanks for the in-depth and vibrant conversation we had about how best we can work together to meet the C7 challenges this year and how we can connect to the work together, something that has been so well called to mind by all of the speakers today. Actually, as globally active civil society organization, at the core of this engagement group, there is the idea of collaboration, the value of collaboration and facilitation by working together also with our stakeholders so that we can become more effective change organization in ensuring our voice will be effectively channeled to get the changes we need. Thanks to our distinguished C7 working group coordinators for the high quality analysis of the challenges we are facing at the global level and the upcoming actions identified. This will help us all to draw strong advocacy action by making some connections with the work done last year, for instance, with German colleagues, and by combining a very pragmatic collective exchange about building a more substantial advocacy framework, looking at specific proposed priorities posed by the C7 working groups, essentially to synergize with the existing policy proposition of civil society so that our advocacy will be both coherent and consistent. We will carry on finding synergies with the C20 process as well for a potential common ground. And to serve all of these purposes and continuing to raise our call for a democratic and participatory multilateralism, considering the UN as the legitimate space for policy discussion and decisions, we will build on the dialogue with the G7 using the opportunity provided to the G7 engagement groups. So thanks especially to our Japan colleagues for ensuring the dialogue with the G7 Sous Sherpa Ambassador Nakamura. This was the first I'd say worthwhile opportunity this year for us to raise our voice and build on the dialogue with the G7 officials. Actually, the profound level of inequalities and disparities in many fields all around the world is clearly visible. The crises are becoming increasingly severe and protracted and complex. The threat of famine with shocks to the global food systems having a severe impact on food security around the world, the clear attack on the planet resulting from human lifestyles and especially lack of adequate policies, which are increasingly generating the climate injustice. So those who bear the least responsibility for climate change are the ones who are suffering the most. The violence is growing in the world and is also jeopardizing the relations among people, fueling and strengthening forms of structural violence in our societies. The conflicts and autocracy, which are increasing, the devastating pandemic that has been amplifying the already existing unacceptable inequalities and injustice, the economic growth and wealth distribution are all drivers of a profound change already underway, which will evolve further over the next years. So responding to the new challenge in a context that is increasingly interconnected, with changes as a result of escalating protracted crisis, from social to economic crisis to health environmental crisis, requires a bold initiative in scale and scope, and a systematic revision of the narrative for action and the political approach. The word we need is a world where all people are respected, have the right and the real possibility to actively participate in shaping their lives and contribute to well-being for them and their communities. So to achieve this goal, in order to do more and better, giving inspiration to our future actions, we need to create the proper space for our interactions with adequate and strong public institutions at national and international level, able to promote peace, dialogue, and participation, and to avoid any kind of exclusion and discrimination. Our interconnection and interdependency are so profound that we need strong institutions at the global level if we want to be able to manage the process. The alternative is a world dominated by relations of power that will inevitably enhance differences and conflicts with solutions that are solved with power and domination. So just let me end by saying that I'm sure that by making a supreme effort collectively, we can continue becoming more authentic and influential interlocutors, ensure our voice is heard and channeled effectively, and move forward the political dialogue with the G7 and beyond. Surely we will do our utmost to make this real. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Valeria, for your motivating words. It's good to have you on board. I think we have a last slide with some information. Yes, so this is my last word. Please engage in the process. Here you see the website. Please register for the working groups. And if you have any questions, I think the colleagues from Civil 7 Secretariat in Japan are happy to answer your questions. Yeah, that's it. Fantastic kick-off. Thank you very much for your participation and all the fruitful discussions, and looking forward to see you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Goodbye.